Congratulations, Mississippi State, and just kind of disappointed from the standpoint of we've been playing well, been playing much better at home, and as you could see, it was a tale of two halves, and I don't know if we just ran out of steam, because if you think about the first half against a good Mississippi State team, we shot the ball well, we executed, we rebounded the basketball, we shared it. The only thing we didn't do a good job of was taking care of the basketball. And those turnovers, I mean, if you just, sometimes you look at the stats when you get beat, but if you look at the turnovers, they scored 27 points off our turnovers. That's what we normally do to people. So we had 20 turnovers, and they're a good defensive team, but I thought we helped them in that category. And so that's 14 steals that turned 27 points. I think we scored 22 off of theirs. Second chance points. I think they scored 5 more points than we did, and if you look at that, then there's the ball game. But I thought it was a tale of two halves, and their size going down the stretch, I thought made a big difference in the game. They got some offensive rebounds and stuck them in. But I thought our guys, again, I thought they gave everything they had. They put a body in, made it difficult for him. I thought we did much better moving offensively in the first half than the second half. And then we had just a big lull. I don't know what the run was, but we came out and took an 8-point lead, I think, in the second half. We scored 3 free throws. I don't think we scored a field goal until like 11 minutes to go. And that, you can't do that and beat any team. And so I didn't see that coming from the standpoint of, when you got guys that are able to score, you got a guy with the presence of Dan. We missed some chippies. We missed a lot of open shots as well. So again, sometimes when you start missing it kind of gets to your head a little bit, and you can see guys kind of start pressing a little bit. But even with that, we cut it to 9 with 5-6 minutes to go, and we got the basketball, and the whole thing rears its head again. That's turnovers. Turnovers that led into opportunities for them. So again, we just got to get back in the gym, watch film, and get better. Try to get better. We got 6 games left on this season, 6-game season.
Yeah, Mike, it was 20.
Hello. It's our Monday edition. It's our February 18th edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, as we come to you each and every day here on Sauced Up Radio, KDSJ 479, Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. Here on OTH. And we got a big show planned for you. We let you hear audio from Coach Mike Anderson following his team. Very disappointing. 77-67 home loss to the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Arkansas falls to 5-7 impact. Particularly in recruiting, the city of Memphis, how that's going to affect this football team with Coach Ingram coming aboard. And then we're going to follow up with more high school basketball. I told you, my producer had been talking, and we'd been discussing things for months on how we could incorporate what is the centerpiece and really the diamonds of the Diamond State high school basketball. So we're going to go and catch up with Vic Rimmer of Fayetteville High School and talk about his girls basketball, the Purple Dog style. My team, Demetrius. That's my team. So we know we're going to get some good audio from Coach Rimmer. He'll come in at 1:30, but I want to kick it over to my co-host and bring him in on this fine Monday. My home guy. What's up, man?
Man, I'm chilling.
That's all. He's got this G on his chest. So
you know I got to rep Gremlin State every day.
Oh, God, G State. He's covering the Razorbacks and he's repping the G. You figure that out, listeners. But Demetrius, it was a close one. Arkansas still yet losing the close games. A lot of this is going to go on Coach Anderson and staff. But I'm of the belief sometimes Arkansas is making some mental mistakes from the player standpoint that it's real head scratching. The last Saturday night's ball game, the forwards between Gabe Osaboin, Reggie Chaney, Adriel Bailey, and Daniel Gafford had 11 of the team's 20.
To me, that's a lack of identity. I think they still haven't figured out really what works within the guys that they have on the team. I think we all know that, yes, Daniel Gafford is the best player on the team. He is the scorer. But I think the identity of how to get him the ball to score in ways to involve the team and make everybody's chemistry kind of work together, I think that's the missing link that we're getting right now.
To me, it just seems like at some point you have to start playing with a certain urgency. And I think coaches get too much of the blame. Today's kid, Demetrius, just isn't the way it was when you or myself played football, any type of athletic sport, and just collegiate sports in general. Kids, I felt like when, in my generation growing up collegiately, they had a pride about you coming on their home court and trying to get it. And I don't think that's a coaching thing.
No, that's not a coaching thing. What I do think is I think Mike Anderson is going to have to be a little tougher on these guys.
Right.
I think with the mentality, like you said, the entitlement, the sense of entitlement, I think these guys not necessarily don't know the work ethic, because I do think these guys are gym rats. I do think they like to work out, but I think it's just following directions in game situations.
Right.
So many times I think these guys go to, like you said, reverting to those high school tendencies where they can just chunk up shots.
Right.
And, their coach isn't going to take them out the game because they're the best player on the team. And I think they still kind of have that similar mentality now. So I think really Mike's just really going to have to buckle down and I think not be so friend-like to them. I think he's going to have to separate him being the coach when it's time for practice, and then
my game goes by how my offensive game goes. And I think a lot of Arkansas's problems are, in that area. But that's just it's a maturation process, and also too, I'm of the belief they're going to have to get a lot tougher. I think they're going to have to get a lot more physically able to handle these big physical teams. I thought the physicality in which Mississippi State played on Saturday night was a little bit much for Arkansas, and I thought they kind of tucked in a little bit and didn't play up to standard when the intensity and physicality were turned up the last 20 minutes of the game. But we're going to step away, get a real quick break. We're going to be calling up on our guy Otis Kirk of Hogville.net. But we caught up with sophomore sensation. Mason had 30 points for the University of Arkansas in a losing effort. But
that's why he came on there with the drink. I was wondering why he had the drink. I'm
like, you like that? He's always coming into the sport. He's always coming into the conference with his shake. So here's Mason Jones, and following him, Otis Kirk of Hogville.net. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Back in a bit.
Mason, I think you scored a three-point play with about 11:30 left, and that was y'all's first basket of the second half. What was going on? You guys missed a bunch of shots, had a bunch of turnovers to start the half. What happened? They went on a big run.
Turnovers led to that big run. What was they on, a 22-3 run? Oh, yep. We had a lot of turnovers in that stretch, and they capitalized on it with easy layups and fast break, easy dunks, and they just got the momentum right there, and we couldn't make shots to get out. So props to them for taking on turnovers and capitalizing on it.
And the shots weren't dropping either.
Shots was not dropping during that run.
Mason, with 3 losses in a row, 6 to go, is this locker room going to be able to recover from this 3-game losing streak?
This locker room is definitely going to be able to recover. We didn't before, but this late in the year.
More stuff. He's come in and he identified an area. Areas, not an area, but areas that you have to be successful to be successful at Arkansas. You've got to recruit those areas. I mean, it makes no sense to not recruit Tulsa, not to recruit Memphis, and not recruit Texas, or not recruit in the state, not recruit Oklahoma, not just Tulsa, but Oklahoma City, because those are areas, St. Louis, Kansas City, that are right there close to Arkansas, Fayetteville. It's a reasonably short drive from all those places to Arkansas. I talked to somebody from Houston the other day, this side, and they said they got here in 8 hours. So, I mean, it's reasonable driving times. And he came in and identified that as the recruiting footprint and the need for speed. And he's, in hiring coaches, he's kind of kept that in mind by getting people who have ties to those areas. Mark Smith has strong ties, was one of the last coaches he announced last year on his staff when he got here. He has strong ties to Texas. See what he did at Mansfield Legacy, going in there sweeping it. Coach Chavis has strong ties in Tennessee, known everywhere, And then, of course, this hire here with the Memphis connection. And then just kind of everything that Chad does that I've noticed, comes back to where it has a recruiting footnote or something to a recruiting tie to it. Everything he does, and if you remember, Pat, and you were there, and I remember him saying this. I think it was at the first signing day deal he had. He said, hey, if they don't recruit, they probably won't be here very long.
I remember
and,
that.
Yeah. I mean, he says assistants don't recruit hard, they won't be here very long. And so, I mean, he made a statement, and he's backed it up. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, you see all these coaches. You see their names. In the past, you might not have seen 2 or 3 assistant coaches' names mentioned with very many recruits. That's just what I go by. Every coach on that staff. Now, you have, obviously Coach Craddock's more associated with quarterbacks, but you hear, he was down there in the home when they went to see Monte Spivey. He was with the running back coach, Coach Trailer. He was with Chad, and so on. And, you see that. You see Barry Lunny in Oklahoma a lot. You see Mark over there. So, and it's not just for tight ends or defensive backs, So, I mean, everything that he does has a recruiting, some kind of mark for recruiting on it. Chad does. He has something in recruiting in mind. They never stop recruiting, and it's showing with the fact of the list of visitors they're getting for these prospect days. And not just the in-state kids, but from everywhere, and and just the class he signed, and the class he signed recently between the early signing period and February the 6th period. Right. It shows what he's doing in recruiting, man. I mean, everything Chad does has a recruiting intent to it of some kind.
Otis, when you look at this football team, we're just a little over a week, 8 to 9 days before we start spring football in year 2 for Chad Morris. It's come out, a lot of national media across the country are saying Arkansas could be one of the 4 teams, to make that jump from 2-10 to a bowl season. What's your overview? Can this team realistically, and the fan base expect maybe a 6 or 7 win season? Because I'm of the belief if they get 6 or 7, Chad should be up for Coach of the Year in the SEC.
It's weird, Pat, you called me to have me on today because my first story today was, can Arkansas make a bowl game in 2019? Not only did I say they could, I mapped out exactly how I think they can. And there's only been 4 teams in Arkansas since they joined the SEC in 1992. It's been done 4 times, but I think it can be done again, and that's exactly how I mapped out exactly how I thought they would do it. They'll beat the 4 non-conference games. I think they'll go to Ole Miss and win, and I think they'll beat Mississippi State here. The wild card in this, if you slip in Oxford or if you slip against Mississippi State, you've got Missouri and Little Rock on Friday after Thanksgiving. So that's how I think they can do it. And then I also wrote 5 targets that Ingram will. Not necessarily, I thought he will recruit, but they're already been offered, being recruited by Arkansas, but 5 prospects in Memphis in 2020 that I think Kenny Ingram can help have an impact in. Kind of what we've talked about here. It's not that he's some, Superman and going to come in and have to save the day. Arkansas's had Dustin Fry, Justin Stepp, Chavis, and those guys over there, but I'm just saying that I think he might make a difference. And these are 5 big-time players, and if he can make a difference in 1 or 2 of them, it's huge. They've got 2 linebackers at his old school,
Absolutely.
That we talked about French and Eason, and I'll get his name right this time. But, those 2, Eason but French. But those are 2 guys. Hey, if you landed those 2 kids, the Memphis recruiting has been great. And that's not even counting Chris Morris, the offensive lineman, from Freedom Prep Hall or Freedom Prep Academy that I think they've got a good shot at. Those are 3 kids right there that I think if Arkansas could get those 3 kids, you've had not a good, but great, outstanding time in Memphis. And
I agree. Well, Otis, as always, man, love having you on, and I'll catch up with you on Thursday as we get a chance to talk a little more of, hammer down with Coach Mo and that assistant staff of his. But as always, my man, thanks for taking time out on the hill, my brother.
No, like I appreciate you, Pat.
That was Otis Kirk of Hogville.net giving us the skinny on the new edition of Coach Kenny Ingram, how that's going to affect him. Before we take a real quick break and we get to our audio from Arkansas's big win player, Curtis Washington and Heston Kerstad. We caught up with them. Arkansas's big walk-off, 9th inning home run hit by Heston, and Curtis came in with the winning. We'll get to those, but I want to real quick get over to Demetrius. When you have a guy that's had the ties, Arkansas, and it's been widely known, Coach Mose wanted to get into Memphis. When you bring a guy that's a former high school coach in the area, played high school ball at Whitehaven, how big is this going forward when that's something, because Memphis is not too far from Fayetteville. How big is that?
I think it's amazing. I think it's a guy that's well respected, that coaches know when they send their kids to this guy, they know he can relate to where they came from. And I think that's important. He kind of reminds me, I think he's going to be like that Coach Smitty that we had on last staff, where he went and got those Louisiana boys. A lot of them could relate to Coach Smitty. And I think that's really where that correlation is really going to tie in.
Well, we're talking about correlation, and my correlation to our next guest is I'm part of the Purple Dog family. Vic Rimmer, head girls basketball coach at Fayetteville High School. He's up next, but before that, we caught up with Heston Kerstad, Curtis Washington. They're going to talk about that big 3-2 9th inning amazing ball game at Baum Walker. It's on the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
First question, get the microphone to you, Matt.
Curtis, you didn't play a whole lot yesterday, so what was it like coming up, not only in the 9th inning, but in the inning before, having that big moment?
Well, I feel like I'm ready for that bat or when I hit it. I was hoping to give my team, I knew I was a good leadoff hitter in innings, and I wanted to give my team any chance they can get to win the game. So I felt like if I get on base and know I'm a speed runner, I can either steal a base or got a couple guys behind me, Nesbitt, sack bunt, and then got Martin top of the lineup. I feel like I could get her. They were going to knock me in.
When you got the base set, were you thinking right then, I'm going to score this run,
It was a lot of momentum. I feel like it gave everybody confidence that we were going to win this game, having a speed run on base in the first inning.
And maybe, Heston, you can answer this too. Both times after you came up, Nesbitt did a nice job of putting a bunt down. What can you say about those two instances?
Well, want to know about Nesbitt? Oh, yesterday he had trouble trying to get a bunt down, and he worked on it this morning, in an early hit. He said he was going to get better at his bunting, so he did that and showed up in the game.
Coach always talks about how.
Welcome back. It's our Monday edition here on the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's our February 18th edition. And real quick, I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Lindsay & Associates, with an office location in Fayetteville, an office location also too in Rogers. The Baymont Hotel, it's located at 735 South Shiloh Drive in Fayetteville. And lastly, Locomotion, located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall. And
wonderful job. Appreciate you highlighting some girls basketball this afternoon.
Coach, you come from a program, it's to a point now, Coach, you've been so successful. It's not what happened. You're kind of like Coach Ricky Smith there at Northside. People ask what's wrong. Talk about how you've been able to sustain, such a high level, Coach, since you become the coach there at Fayetteville.
Well, I appreciate the compliment, Pat, but if most coaches, if they're really honest, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I've had some really good players, man. I've been so blessed with. I've finished the college time that I've coached basketball in the future too. And then your reference to Kariah back, just
Dickens out of it in Bridges and
get into, and she's a 2. I think she's right at 2 and 2.7 to 1 assist turnover ratio, which is really solid. But I feel like she's going to be even better as she grows along in her career. But she spends, again, talking about skill development, this kid spends numerous hours in our gym before and after. She comes in the morning at 7 a.m. before school 3 days a week and is on the gun shooting, and with Coach Strigler shooting. That's my assistant coach, and spends as far as understanding how to play defense, but she is so willing to learn and has gotten just better and better as we've moved along. Offensively, she has such a skill set. Her three-point shot is growing, and it's going to get better as she moves along. It's going to have to, because she's going to be more of a guard as she moves along. But she can put the ball on the floor. She can pass the basketball, and her ability to score on both sides of the hoop. And if you know what I'm talking about, she can catch the ball with the back of the basket and score to her left or her right. And that's in high school. That's not normal.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm talking about. Just a kid that can turn to each shoulder. And again, that's just a skill development thing that the kid has put in so much time, and we've tried to develop that in her. And that you mentioned youth a moment ago, Pat. That's awesome when you talk about future, but at present, well, we see it every day. We're still struggling to learn how to guard people the way we need to.
Good point.
And how to make possession basketball important when it comes to that. We've had our struggles there, but we also had some high points that we feel like we're building on, and we hope over these last couple conference games in the state tournament next week that we can make all that come together. You know, it's that time of year when the cone gets a little tighter here at the end, and you got to be more and more precise with what you're doing. And we talked about precision today and with that youthful group. But we're excited about our group. I mean, I love our group. I think we got as good a chance as any to make a run here late. So hopefully we'll have some positive ending to it.
Well, hey, Rick, Vic, you make me proud to be a Purple Dog, and I love the job that you do with those ladies. And good luck. You guys try to bring another one home for us here in Fayetteville.
Okay,
and as
Pat.
always, thanks for taking time out on the Hill.
Appreciate you, Pat. Go Dogs, man.
That was Vic Rimmer of the Fayetteville Lady Bulldogs, the head basketball coach of a very, very dynamic team. These ladies will be one of the 4 or 5 teams you talk about in about 2 weeks to hoist that gold trophy, the last game of the season. As you know, when you have a Sasha Goforth and Karai Beck, anytime you have those two, 14 and I believe 13 on the court, you dang sure have a chance to win. But we'll step away. Caught up with Dave Van Horn. He's a little excited and a little proud of his ball club as they were able to get that 3-2 victory in that walk-off 9th inning. And then we'll come back and take your calls if you want to chime in to anything you've heard today, and any topic, we're open. You can talk to Demetrius or myself. You can get us here at 479-601-7400. It's Coach Van Horn, and call in and closeout time. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
Way to win, and that was good to see. You know, kind of what I expected, to be honest with you. You know, whenever you go out and you score a bunch of runs, it just seems like this is what you get in Game 3. You know, I felt like we should have scored a run in the first. We had a leadoff double. You know, made a base run mistake. Thought the ball was going to be airmailed into second base in the air. I don't know what he saw, and said having a leadoff double, nobody on, and 1 out, and it just seems like that. You know, we hit a lot of balls hard early, but we just could not, you know, get a big hit, and they just kept hanging with us, and you know, give them credit. They fight. They're an older team. You know, their whole team's juniors and seniors, and they just they hung in there. And I mean, our players felt like that we were playing a good team. I heard them talking about it in the locker room last night, that those guys can swing it a little bit. They're three-hole. I'd say 2, 3, and 4-hole hitter today. They all took really good swings all weekend, and they challenged us a little bit. But you know, I felt like that. It was good for us to play a game like that. You know, if we'd had another 15-2 game,